Good evening from Lagos, everyone. I am Nifemi Okuntoye, and this is Beyond 100 Days. You can join the conversation right now on X using the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News On. Let's begin in Zamfara, where the Catholic priest, Reverend Father Mika Sulaiman, abducted by gunmen, has regained freedom. The clergyman was released by his abductors over the weekend after 16 days in captivity. Father Sulaiman, who is the parish priest of St. Raymond Catholic Church, Damba Gusau, was abducted at the parish rectory on 21st of June this year. The Director, Communication of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Reverend Father Pascal Salifo, confirmed the development in a press statement. It says the kidnapped victim is currently receiving treatment at a medical facility. Away from that to political developments in Rivers State, where the State House of Assembly, led by Martin Amewule, has issued a 7-day ultimatum to Governor Siminalayi Fubara to re-present the 2024 budget to the House. The order follows the first sitting of the Pro-Wike House on Monday after some months. The House, led by Victor Okojumbo, also held a parallel sitting while the Amewule-led House was sitting. Today's sitting by the Amewule-led Assembly may have come on the heels of last week's Court of Appeal judgment, nullifying the expulsion of Amewule and 24 others from the River State House of Assembly by the River State High Court. Governor Fubara had earlier presented the budget to the House, loyal to him, when his current Chief of Staff, Edison Ehie, presided as the Speaker. Well, I'm joined now by the newly appointed Chairman, Caretaker Committee, Kana Local Government Area at River State, Marvin Yobana. Also joining me is Chibike Ikenga, who is Caretaker Publicity Secretary of the APC. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the program. Let's begin with Mr. Ikenga, if we can. We saw what appears the first sitting today after the appeal court ruling for the Amewule-led House of Assembly. What does this mean for the political crisis in Rivers State as we know it?
Okay, thank you. Ordinarily, the decision today by the Rivers State House of Assembly under the able leadership of the Speaker, Right Honorable Martins Chike Amewule, DSSRS, is to signpost a new beginning. The Court of Appeal has set the stage for a new beginning, having nullified all that was done pursuant to the decision made by the Rivers State High Court, which lacks the jurisdictional being issued. So having nullified and declared null and void all actions that were taken within the period under review, this is a new beginning for the state. And in pursuant to that, the State Assembly now wrote to the governor, reminding him of the need to tread on the path of constitutionalism. And that for a start, for that new beginning, that the governor should now submit the appropriation bill to the State House Assembly so that it will be passed, and then they continue on a good note. That is what that signposted today when they wrote the governor.
About the resolutions reached and the letter sent to Mr. Governor shortly, but some critics have argued that this Court of Appeal ruling will further worsen political crisis in Rivers State. Are you concerned about what seems a sense of instability in this regard?
Well, the letter written by the Rivers State House of Assembly under the leadership of Right Honorable Martins Amewule members was the official communication based on the resolutions. They did remind the governor properly that there were some actions that had been taken that were not in line with extant laws, and that there was need to correcting them. Those who were sworn in, those who were screened, quote and unquote, by the illegal or personalized House of Assembly by Governor Sim and his team had been vitiated by that decision by the by the Court of Appeal. That was exactly what that communication meant. Yes, resolutions after being taken at the House must be communicated to the governor, and that is what they did. So whatever anybody is saying, anybody who is interpreting the Court of Appeal judgment in another way to suiting the person or group of persons is what we continue to say as a group of people under Governor Sim and his team who have continued to obstruct due process, who have continued to obstruct the respect for rule of law, who have continued to work against and tranquility in Rivers State. So to begin to sit on appeal, that's absurd.
Interesting way you have put it. But let's talk about the reality on ground, because while the plenary was being held by the Amewule-led House of Assembly, the pro-Fubara lawmakers were also sitting simultaneously, the one led by Victor Oko-Jumbo, where a commissioner nominee was screened. The governor obviously has moved on. He identifies with the House of Assembly, but definitely not the one led by Amewule. What does this say, especially when you consider the credibility of this House, irrespective of the ruling they just got from the Court of Appeal?
Yes, I think that we have canvassed this enormously on this platform and other platforms as well. Governor Sim Fubara does not have respect for the rule of law. He's an autocrat. He has decided to take laws onto his hands. He does not respect the Constitution.
Strong words about calling him an autocrat. Unfortunately, he is not here. So I would like us to focus on the issues rather than call the man names.
No. When you mean an autocrat, it's someone who does not abide by the constitutional provision. That's what it is. It's a non-fact. What I'm saying is that the governor does not have respect for rule of law, does not obey court orders, court judgments, court rulings.
Talking about court judgments,
and takes laws onto his
Mr. Ikenga,
if you do,
let me just butt in quickly, because it's important that we put all of this in perspective. I don't know if you've heard about a recent ex parte order purportedly from the Rivers State High Court, which has now, I'm trying to get clarity from the document itself, which is now, given a resolution, an order of interim injunction, really, which has now restricted the governor and his cabinet from communicating with the current House of Assembly as led by Mr. Amewule. Precisely, the order reads that an order of interim injunction is hereby made restraining the defendants from dealing or howsoever relating with the defendants as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly and from receiving, forwarding, or howsoever acting on any resolutions, articles of impeachment, or other documents or communication from the defendants pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice for interlocutory injunction already filed hearing. So when we talk about rule of law, it is relative. The state governor would tell you that he has an interim order that gives him the privilege of not recognizing this house as it is currently constituted.
Rule of law is not relative. Rule of law is rule of law. The law is not relative. The law is the law.
This is a court order from the State High Court dated 8th of July 2024.
Just listen to me. I said the law is the law. The rule of law is the rule of law. There are no ambiguities. Let me state clearly that what that so-called court order, interim order, is to ambush the decision of the Court of Appeal. And by the way, Court of Appeal is a superior court that cannot be ambushed by the actions or inactions of a lower court. That is a fact. But again, when you look at it, what that means is that Governor Fubara and his team are not willing to ensure that there is peace and development in the state. After every decision, they go to take actions and steps that will work against the processes that have been put in place to ensuring that we have peace, tranquility, and development in our state. So what they are doing is what we already know that they will do. He will not be willing to accept the fact that there are laws. And mind you, what has made him governor today is the Constitution, the law, and the rule of law. So for him to continue to take laws onto his hands with his team, it's not the way to go. By the way, the court does not have any powers stopping another, the court being an arm of the judiciary or being part of the judiciary, does not have the powers stopping another arm of government from doing its constitutionally conferred responsibilities. That is right. We know that whatever they are doing that will stop them, would stop the other arm from performing their responsibilities, cannot stand the retest of law.
So, as we speak now, Amewule and 24 others are demanding that Governor Fubara represent the budget before the House in 7 days. What do you think would necessarily happen if he doesn't? The governor already has a House of Assembly that passes the laws for him. You either, depending on whether you agree with him or not as being on the side of the law, they are passing bills. They have signed the same budget that Amewule and his colleagues are talking about. They are screening commissioner nominees. Don't you think this other house looks like a dog that can bark, but that cannot bite?
Well, I don't know what your insistence on two houses of assembly. I feel very disappointed with that because we talk about due process and law. Firstly, Justice Omotosho, sometime in December, gave a judgment legitimizing the position of Right Honorable Martin Amewule as Speaker and members of the House of Assembly. And part of that judgment read that the governor should submit the appropriation bill to this House of Assembly under Right Honorable Martin Amewule. The governor refused, and that judgment is still there, and no superior court has overturned it. I doubt even whether they have made an appeal. They have taken the matter up. I doubt. That's that. They've disobeyed it continually. And then there is another subsisting judgment from Court of Appeal stating that they do not recognize any House of Assembly that is not under Right Honorable Martin Amewule. And also that all actions that we are taking, whether there were resolutions, so-called laws, or whatever screening of nominees that we have done before, any other group of persons other than the House of Assembly under Right Honorable Martin Amewule are null and void. And if that's the position of the law, the Court of Appeal has strengthened it. Why are we making reference to a non-existent group of friends as of Assembly? Albeit the governor recognizing them. Does it make sense? The governor himself is sitting there because the Constitution backs him up. The Constitution gives him the right to remain there as governor and take decisions for the people. So also the Constitution gave the rights and privileges to the House of Assembly members as enunciated by the Constitution and validated by this Court of Appeal.
I hear you, Mr. Ikenga.
When the Supreme Court takes another look at it and either validates or nullifies this, then that is the law.
Let me just state that the chairman, Caretaker Committee of Kana Local Government Area in Rivers State, Marvin Yobana, is scheduled to join this conversation. We can't connect with him yet, but let's take a short break, Mr. Ikenga, and we'll return with more after now. Stay with us, everyone.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear.
Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Chibike Ikenga is Caretaker Publicity Secretary of the APC. Thank you for staying the course on the program. Marvin Yobana, Caretaker Committee Chairman, Kana Local Government, agreed to join us on the show. Hopefully he joins us before, right?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, there is no decision that invalidates the membership and positions of the Speaker and of officers of the House of Assembly that is in a position today. What we know is that Justice Omotosho did say when this issue started that these members are the legally elected members of the House of Assembly and they have the constitutional responsibilities of making laws for the good governance of the state. And that has been further expanded by the Court of Appeal. And there is nothing to the contrary. So if that's the position, we cannot stay at this stage and begin to imagine what will happen tomorrow, what would have happened. So let us deal with the reality. What is today is what is. There is no decision from any court that had declared the seats of the House Assembly members vacant. And by the way, for you to be able to do that, you must have jurisdiction. Court of Appeal has said so, that every decision that we are purported to have been taken to nullifying their membership or declaring their seats vacant are null and void because ab initio they did not have jurisdiction. So we are where we are, that Martin Samuel and his members are the rightful House of Assembly in Rivers State, and they must be allowed, they must be respected, they must do their job for the people of the states.
I get you clearly, but I'm talking about credibility as against getting a ruling based on technicality, and that should, mean something to you as a politician, especially if you follow how this story has been crafted over the months. You will hear pro-Wike lawmakers, pro-Fubara lawmakers. Do you think these 25 lawmakers seem to have the credibility vis-a-vis their position as to whether or not they have decamped? I mean, they came on television to actually say they were leaving for the APC.
Okay, let me quickly address that issue. The fact that you are aware that they have said severally that they support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and that they even voted for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they are happy with the policies and programs of the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President. You are aware of that. And if that's the case, and they appreciate the efforts of the APC as a party and the APC-led government, and they have signaled an interest in joining the party and have not consummated the processes leading to membership of the party, it is up to the court to determine whether they were right or wrong. And up till today, as we speak, nothing to the contrary had been said by the courts. So what we have is that Martin Samuel, as Right Honorable Speaker and members of the Assembly, do have the credibility that led them to be elected, to remain members of the Assembly until any court of competent jurisdiction decides otherwise.
But is there a sense to which you think that we might find other ways to significantly settle what is now a prolonged political tussle? Do you think all of these multiplicity of court orders and rulings can return stability in the oil-rich state?
Well, I think that let the right things be done. Let us obey the constitutional provisions. Let us obey decisions of competent courts of jurisdiction because their decisions are part of the laws. They become part of the Constitution by those decisions and judgments. Once we obey them and seek ways of ensuring integration, ways of ensuring peace building. Politics is about give and take. Once you insist that you are right all the time and you must dictate how and when things are done, these are things that create conflicts. And these conflicts, albeit, are part of democracy. They are part of relationships. But there are other latent procedures where and how these conflicts can be resolved. Once we abide by them, we'll be meeting together, we agree, and then we do what we call give and take. And then there will be peace, and we start the development of our state, which has taken a back seat over a year now.
I asked that question because many of these court rulings have been left to how individuals or interested parties have decided to interpret it. This position, for instance, has been made by the Opposition Federal Lawmakers Coalition, the G60, who last week Friday said the declaration of the seat of the 27 sacked Rivers lawmakers remains valid and that it hasn't been nullified by any court in Nigeria. I'm sure you saw that press briefing. How do you react to their position? Because these are federal lawmakers and there are about 60 of them.
Well, they claim there are about 60 of them. That's a lie. And two, those are paid agents of Governor Fubara and his team. Ugochinyere and cohorts, they are paid agents. I'm sure you also watched one, Dananya, a known political jobber, who addressed a press conference asking that he was told by the spirits that Governor Nyesom Wike is contesting against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. These are lies, these are jobbers, these are guys who are known for political jobbing. So be that as it may, the fact that they have said so, they also did not bring to the fore that there is a subsisting court judgment by the federal High Court in Abuja under Justice Omotosho, who validated the position of these members of this assembly under right of Martin Samuel, and that no superior court had vitiated that. They won't mention such things. Further to that, the Court of Appeal had further strengthened the position canvassed in his judgment by Justice Omotosho. So what are we talking about? So we sit down and begin to take as laws or as judgments, as position of the Constitution, comments from a section of persons who have interests, who are paid agents of a particular group. No, we won't take them seriously. What? And as a party in this state, we don't take them seriously. And majority of those who do that are not members of Rivers State. They are not citizens of Rivers State. So they do not understand the internal workings of our state and the developments that we yearn for. They don't understand. They're interested in lining their pockets. And that's what we know.
Well, we seem to have a rich precedent when it comes to, political conflict like this between members of the House and a sitting governor. In Edo State, we all know how it ended. How do you think this one will pan out? I know you are an interested party, but do you think these 25 lawmakers, have the capacity to reinforce their position against a sitting governor? Do they have a rich history they can back on to make that a possibility?
Well, the legislature is the legislature. They cannot compare their pockets because the governor has a deep pocket. The Commonwealth is in absolute control of it. They cannot equate themselves with him, but they are standing by the rule of law. Let me tell you, remember that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had intervened and made specific recommendations to all the warring factions and asked them to do so for peace to return. Governor Fubara still failed all of them, and that's why we are where we are. And that's why the problem is the crisis and conflict is still festering. So we're not saying that the legislature has an executive power. After all, the executive controls the police, the army, the courts, and everything. And then the funds is domiciled in the pockets of the executive, but with laws from the legislature to control expenditure. But what we are saying that Speaker Martin Samuel and his members do have the integrity, they have the clout to make laws for the good governance of Rivers State. And they also have the powers, the integrity to ensure that they do their oversight functions by ensuring that accountability and transparency are brought to the fore. That is the position.
We have to go now. In a minute, if you can, what do you think the stakeholders, especially the Rivers State government and the affected lawmakers, have to do now to douse the tension?
Okay, first, let them obey the rule of law. Let them obey the constitutional provisions. Like today, after the Court of Appeal judgment, a cross-section of supporters of the governor from his political supporters from the Ikore ethnic nationality, they went to visit the governor, and the governor was heard openly calling for Mr. Speaker, Oko Jumbo, that's my speaker, he ought to be here. Look for him, that's the speaker. After a Court of Appeal had given a judgment yesterday, that's unfortunate. I believe that the only way we can get out of this quagmire, this crisis, this intractable conflict, is for us to obey the rule of law. And then the governor, who is the chief executive, must be the governor for all. No matter those who oppose and those who support him, they're all members and citizens of the state. He must find a way to accommodating everyone for the greater good of the state. That is the position, please.
That's our time. Chibike Kenga, caretaker publicity secretary of the APC in Rivers State. Thank you so much for talking to us. And that's our show today. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.